The truth about transition. Transition. Such an ugly word for many these days. Speaking from someone who's been there, I can understand why. However, I think we get it twisted sometimes. We tend to find ourselves in seasons of transition and we automatically begin to dread life when we should be doing the complete opposite. Believe me, I'm preaching to the choir today. I got up and after reading some devotions in my email, I logged into social media and read a post my sister posted late last night in the midst of a bittersweet moment. She wrote, "Some I thought were for a lifetime, but they were for a season. Some I thought were for a moment, and they were for a season. Some I thought would be for a season, and they were just for a moment. This is the bittersweetness of life and growth." As I read the post, it was like God began to speak to my heart about transitions. Transition is hard, but it's also worth the trouble. You know what transition means? Transition means God is taking you somewhere, and that somewhere is better. We were created to change the world, but we forget that it comes with a price. I mean, Christ was sent to change the world, and look what he endured in the process. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." As I meditated on that verse and chapter, the one word that stood out to me was everything. Everything meaning everything. Every person, every habit, every place. You see, when we read that there is a season to everything, that includes habits, places, attitudes, and people. We always tend to assume that because we've known people for so many years, they're automatically going to go where we go in God. What we've learned in our lives is that it's most people that knew you back then that are the first to go because they have a hard time accepting who God is shaping and forming you to be. Why? Because they know you, not the new you, not the you God has created you to be, but the old you. And that's where the problem comes in. The Hebrew word for anointed is masash, meaning an individual that is set apart for divine use. There are people God has empowered to accomplish his task. What type of anointing of lifestyle does not come lightly? Not everyone was made to carry such a load. With that being said, we need to understand something. Not everyone is made to walk our walk. God has a unique plan for each and every one of us. No matter how much you think you know what's coming or what God has planned for your life, you have no idea. The unknown can be the scariest thing in the world to us, and it makes us want to surround ourselves with the familiar. The thing is, the more we surrender to what God is doing in our lives, the more we learn that what is familiar to us is the exact thing God is trying to remove from our lives. We can't get to the place he wants us in by living in the comfort zone. So what do we do when people start dropping out of our lives like bad habits? We trust God. What do we do when we feel like we went from a social butterfly to total banishment? We dig deeper into God. What do we do when loneliness hits us? We grab a hold of God. Are you getting my point here? Moses went from the royal courtyard to the desert with a bunch of people he didn't grow up with. Yes, they were his family, but he didn't know them. Not only that, but what he thought would be a few days trip turned into a 40-year journey. I'm sure it was hard for him most days. I'm sure he had days where he felt alone and depressed. But you know what? Moses knew that despite how he felt, he had a purpose and a task to complete, and that's what kept him going. That's what made it all right in his heart. That's what gave him peace. That's what should give us peace and the press to keep taking one obedient step in front of another, our destiny. Today, as you go through your transition, whether you're just getting started, in the midst of it, or in the brink of your horizon, remember that as people come and go out of your lives, it's for a reason and it's for the better. Even when you don't understand why, trust me when I say, you will in time. When you see people's true colors, believe it and take it as a red light from God to take a step back. Don't keep a grip on anything or anyone God is trying to let slip out of your path. because it's all part of the process. My point to this whole story is this: let God be God. Let him do what he does to get you where you need to be, where he predestined you to be. It's okay to freak out every once in a while, but when you're done, dust yourself off and keep walking. He has so much in store for you. Don't let it slip away. Always remember that anything God removes from your life will always be replaced with something so much greater. Until next time, be blessed.